there you have it. A few days ago, they released their fifth batch of Nokia phone footage with the grainy grain and the hard to see. Like, what is that? Is that a bag floating across the sea? You know what I mean? That kind of footage coming from the Department of Defense. I'm actually at their website. This is the first time I actually hit their website, war.gov. Of course, they want to use the word war for fear, to fear anything outside of the norm. Another influential tactic that they love to use to lower the vibration. I'm telling y'all, man. But let's read it here before we get into the video. It says here, Department of War publishes fifth release of unidentified anomalous phenomena files on war.gov. It states here, statement attributable to Assistant to the Secretary of War for Public Affairs and Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell says, today the Department of War is publishing their fifth release of declassified and historical unidentified anomalous phenomena files as part of the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters. Pursue. The collection continues to be housed on war.gov, and the department will release additional files on a rolling basis. Doesn't that sound like the introduction to Project Bluebeam when they're ready to pull the trigger on that? I mean, war, they always want us to be in fear of something called war. So what better way to start the Project Bluebeam project by going to war with something from out of this world? You know what I mean? But without further ado, let's get to this clean ass Nokia footage and let's see what they really got for us today. They better be better than the fourth batch and the third and the second and the first. Real talk, man.
Welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. Earlier today, another major UFO file was dropped when published by the Pentagon. This is the fifth batch of declassified UAP documents, including videos from some remarkable military encounters. In one incident over the Gulf of Oman, U.S. forces reported roughly 25 unidentified objects described as cold orbs.
It's unidentified by just seeing this footage right here. We can't even see that thing. It's like a little white dot.
Moving at speeds of up to 1,300 miles per hour. Another file details a military pilot's encounter of a massive silent triangular object over Afghanistan. This comes as Time magazine wrote that America is finally taking the possibility of extraterrestrial life seriously, pointing to congressional hearings, new disclosures, and a growing number of military and intelligence officials willing to publicly discuss UAPs. Here now with more, UAP whistleblower and former director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, Lou Elizondo. Lou, it's an honor to talk to you. I love the age of disclosure. What do you make from this latest batch of materials that was dropped by the Pentagon?
It's the same as the fourth, third, second, and first. Nothing but grainy ass footage. You mean to tell me the United States government doesn't have nothing better than that footage to show us, knowing that they got footage that would blow our minds and probably have us traumatized of things so close up that they have the ingraining of different language, some kind of different spoken language, or signia across the UFO itself. I'm sure they have that, but they want to show this shit. Let's go.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. It's certainly my honor and privilege. Look, all I got to say, bottom line is the president is fulfilling a promise to the American people, and members of Congress are also helping with this process. And now the American people are finally able to.
Yeah, because some other files they want to just brush up under the rug. Ain't that about a bitch?
Learn what we knew, as a matter of fact, back in the Pentagon so many years ago. I mean, this is something that I think is going to take some time for some people to really kind of internalize and digest. But look, these things are real, and we've known they're real for decades.
Is it because we have more sophisticated detection capability and the ability to essentially videotape and watch them with the improvements and all sorts of technology? Is that why we're We have more video readily available, and yeah, huge credit to Donald Trump for, as the president, releasing this information.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's a great question. And,
If you call
there
that
is.
advanced technology right there, do you really call that advanced technology?
There is a very real possibility, because we have better technology, we have more pervasiveness and more situation awareness of our airspace, that we are beginning to see these things, detect these things, and record these things. But there's also a possibility that the frequency of these occurrences is also increasing. There are two major, if you will, points of intersection regarding the UAP topic. One is water. For some reason, we see these UAP in and around areas of large bodies of
I
water
can't
frequently,
tell.
and also our military equities and our nuclear equities and technologies. And if you look at, for example, the Navy, let's say a carrier
Man, that's a T-Mobile sidekick phone right there, bro. Come
strike
on.
group, that's an awfully big nuclear footprint smack dab in the middle of the water. And that's exactly where we're seeing a lot of these
Everything's redacted. We
UAPs.
can't see it.
Let's talk some more about that water, because at least some of the videos that I saw in the documentary, the idea that these things can dip in and out, and I think it was a Navy admiral talking about how little of our oceans are actually mapped and have been surveilled. We seem to know more about the moon than we do our own oceans.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Don't even.
absolutely correct. The ocean is especially the deep parts of the ocean, is a very hostile environment, where the temperatures are extremely cold and the pressures are almost unimaginable. And yet we have documented evidence that demonstrate definitively that these objects, whatever they are, these UAP, have the ability to also operate not just in our airspace and potentially in low Earth orbit, but also seemingly underwater, without the normal performance compromise as you might expect. So, for example, here on Earth, with our technologies, we do have these vehicles called transmedium vehicles. Think of a seaplane. It can fly and it can float. But let's face it, a seaplane is neither a very good airplane nor a good boat, because it's a design compromise. In essence, the more environments you want to work in, the more compromises you have to have. And in this case, we don't see that with these UAP. They seem to be able to operate seamlessly throughout all these domains and no compromise of performance.
Damn BlackBerry
What are
footage
the
right now.
chances here, Lou, that this is just either spoofing or it's U.S. intelligence operating some things that maybe the rest of the military doesn't know about, or maybe it's the Chinese or the Russians? I mean, but there are attributes of these things that are just unexplainable, right?
Yeah, 100%. Great question. So let's look at that real quick and pull this back if we can. Some of these reports that President Trump is now releasing go back to the late 1940s, early 1950s, and there's objects being tracked on radar that are going in excess of 5 times the speed of sound, what we call hypersonic velocity. Now, we had barely broken the sound barrier at that time. What nation on Earth, following in the footsteps of World War II, had the capabilities to have technology like that? Well, the United States was really the only superpower at the time. Russia hadn't yet invented the atomic bomb, and China was in the middle of a famine. So if there is a country out
You forgot about Germany, fool.
there that somehow for the last 80 years has managed to master this technology and deploy it over our own airspace, despite the billions of dollars that we invest into our intelligence community each year, this would be a national security concern eclipsing that of even 9/11. This would be a tremendous intelligence failure, which frankly, that's just not the case. Now, there are some technologies, very interesting technologies we have. I'm not going to talk about those technologies. Some of those remain very sensitive.
Okay, but you rather talk about this UFO technology over the technology that you don't want to discuss with us right now.
Classified, but not all the things we are seeing in the sky are necessarily our technology. And this is why now you have NASA and these other organizations coming out and having an honest conversation with the American people after decades of denial.
Last question for you, Lou. Look, President Trump, I think, is doing the right thing in releasing all of this. What would you like to personally see released that maybe the government has not yet shown?
We all want to hear this one.
Well, there's videos and reports that I had access to when I was at the Pentagon and we were working with the CIA and other organizations that frankly were in ultra high definition, really just knock your socks off. But that is really not I think for me, the most important thing, what I would like to see is a national intelligence estimate done by the DNI on an annual basis. Also have some sort of strategy for UAP. And when I say UAP, I mean also drones, right? Chinese
Right.
spy balloons. There's a lot of stuff in our airspace we frankly don't have a handle on. And have some sort of national intelligence estimate, some sort of national strategy, and maybe even an individual, some sort of
You better knock
czar
it off with
position
this shit, man.
that's responsible for our airspace.
Interesting. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Nothing interesting at all. Nothing at all, man. All we saw was footage of some old ass phones like the Sidekick, the BlackBerry, and the damn Nokia phone, man. Most of it's redacted anyway. And then we only got two little clips, of course, by the news themselves, you know? Of course, we only got that. But that being said, y'all, I'm so disappointed in this nonsense. And we all know this is a deflection, and this is also something to keep us distracted. You all know that, man. So, with that being said, let me know in the comments below on what you really think about this nonsense that they keep spewing just to deflect us from the real truth on what's really going on and the things that they really have. But let me know what you think, and I'll be in touch real soon. One love, y'all.